Well, this is the definitive list of best piano brands of 2021. This is it. There's no arguing with it. This is definitive. We have all the evidence. This isn't subjective at all. And if you disagree, you're probably wrong. And we're going to explain why.
Hi, this is Ted with Alamo Music Center in San Antonio, Texas.
I'm Patrick Marr. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channels, check out our other videos, sign up for notifications, like our videos, leave us comments. We appreciate your support and we love to interact with you. Ted,
definitive list.
It's definitive, okay? Like there's no arguing. Like this is it.
Well, it's actually, you have to consider based on manufacturers, how many, how much pianos they produce, and then also how there's not anywhere near as many manufacturers as there used to be. And let's say that we're talking pianos new and used, or just new? New and used. Over the last 20 years?
I'm talking new pianos right now.
Okay, new pianos.
But it does, in the last 20 years, the new pianos and the used pianos are very similar. There hasn't been a huge shakeup in the world of manufacturing of pianos. And so, obviously, our introduction was a little bit of a joke because every piano is a little bit different, and depending on materials and how it's, how meticulous they are about, making sure every single one of them is exactly the same, all, come into effect when you're talking about instruments that will be shipped to, here in Texas, or shipped to somewhere in Europe, or shipped to, China. Like all these instruments are very different, and making a list of best piano brands is a very subjective thing. We're going to do our best to honor the brands that we are mentioning today, and any ones that we might have left off the list, please leave us some comments and let us know that you think this brand should be on there because X, Y, or Z, because I'm sure we're going to miss some here.
The other thing too is that bear in mind that we're talking about total consumption. In other words, the complete world. How many people are playing on X, Y, Z, and ABC pianos all around the world at colleges, universities, public schools, private schools,
music
and
studios,
also venues, music studios. What is really, really out there, and what do you see most of the time?
And what's reliable, what can you learn with, what's a great concert piano, all those things, all that tangled up together, that's how we're choosing our piano brands today. And this is the definitive list of best for 2021 pianos.
Well, we both agreed last week when we were kicking around this topic is that at the top of the list is Yamaha Kawai. Because their dedication to manufacturing a large volume, historically a large volume of pianos for the world to consume.
For the masses, yes.
For the masses.
So we kind of are going to separate this into a couple different categories. Our first category is overall best brands. And there's only two manufacturers in this category, and it is Kawai and Yamaha. And whether you look at it at their very highest level of manufacturing, the Yamaha CFX, the Shigeru Kawai, SKEX from Kawai, when you look at those two pianos, incredible instruments on their own, would be on anyone's list as a top 10 piano to put on any concert stage in any venue. Just incredible, handmade, beautiful instruments. And then you go all the way down to their lowest priced instrument for Kawai. I think it's like the ES110, which is a portable digital. Looks very similar to this one behind us. An incredible value piece, under $1,000. That will get a beginner started, that has a great action, a great feel, a great sound. Yamaha, you go to their entry, I think it's like under $100, and it's a little tiny keyboard. That one's a little bit more like a toy, but they, at every price point, give as much as they can. And so that's why both of these are in the overall category.
Well, that too, but they're also the only manufacturers that are making both acoustic pianos, both uprights and grands, and digitals.
And hybrids.
And hybrids.
So they also are in this list because they're the only ones that have really kind of perfected that hybrid piano. And so whether you're looking at Yamaha's, like the NU1X that they make, or the N3X that they make, or Kawai's, I'm blanking on their names, but the Novus, the Novus NV10 and the NV5, incredible instruments with a full acoustic action and digital sounds. Somewhat portable, but they tick all the boxes at every price point and in every category, kind of puts them above the rest. And so that's.
Well, the hybrid only exists because both of those companies had a silent piano, and people were like, hey, I like playing this thing with the headphones on. Too bad they can't come up with an amp or something. And so after a while, that's where it came from.
And they also address price points of, okay, we're going to have an affordable baby grand that's made in Indonesia and made in China that's going to be to our quality, and then we're going to have our premium products coming out of Japan. And so they really kind of try to be everything to everyone in the piano world, and really have a strong offering. And so that's why we've kind of separated these two in the overall categories. As we move down our list to acoustic piano, is something that we're very fond of.
This is where it gets fun.
Yeah, and this is, there's a whole bunch of manufacturers in this. There used to be 100 times this, you know.
And these are in no order, right? We just kind of pick these out.
Yeah, and same with Yamaha and Kawai. That's a tie, I think, right there at the top hey, this is where you should start looking at these brands. Right. And, we highly support them. And so then you move to acoustics, and it's the pick of the litter. There's a whole bunch of great manufacturing going on. Obviously, we have to mention Steinway as one of them in this category. Steinway sticks to making a traditional acoustic instrument, both here in New York.
They've been at it longer than anyone else, with maybe the exception of Bosendorfer.
Yeah, so just an incredible, rich history. Lots of used great instruments out there, lots of new ones that are very expensive. Not the piano for everyone because of obviously the price point, and just an incredible story. We've highlighted Steinway in some other videos, so make sure you've checked those out. And they do something in the acoustic world that Yamaha and Kawai do their thing, where they're able to manufacture lesser expensive instruments, and stand behind it with their name on it. Right. Steinway makes lesser expensive instruments, but they rebrand it as made for Steinway. Right. And these are made by two other manufacturers, and one of them that we're going to put on this list is Pearl River.
Pearl River. They also have, it's kind of funny because regardless of the piano manufacturer, they always have a premium one that they make. And Pearl River has their premium piano line called the Rittmuller, which are phenomenal pianos for the money. And everyone we've sold, we had nothing but praise coming back from the purchasers, and they're glad that they bought that piano.
Yeah, so Pearl River is the largest manufacturer of pianos in the world. All of them do come out of China, but Pearl River actually owns Schimmel, the majority interest in Schimmel. So Schimmel pianos are still made in Germany. Incredible instruments with a rich history. Schimmel also makes our list. But Pearl River does this really cool thing where they manufacture for a lot of other brands. So
Pearl River manufactures, some of my friends here in town own these pianos, and they went out 10, 15 years ago and shopped for pianos. They shopped us, they shopped Steinway, they shopped everyone. At the time we weren't Kawai, they shopped Kawai, and they bought a Boston piano.
Yeah.
And Boston pianos they're designed on paper by Steinway, and they're manufactured and built according to those specifications by Kawai Corporation.
Yeah, so in that, that branch of Steinway being on our list, both Pearl River makes it, who also manufactures Essex for Steinway, and then Boston makes our list for acoustic pianos, which are manufactured by Kawai. And so really, you can start seeing how entangled acoustic instruments are now. But all those are going to make our list: Pearl River, Steinway, Essex, Boston. Really a cool collection of acoustic instruments there. What do you think? What's your favorite one on the acoustic list?
On the acoustic list, I have to go with the Shigeru Kawais. That's been my favorite piano since they came out.
And so Shigeru Kawai, some would say it ties to the Kawai name, and it is their highest level of instrument, but it actually is officially, they rebrand it as its own thing. And so,
it is its own thing. They have their own workmen. I mean, if you work for Shigeru Kawai or you work for Kawai.
Yeah, and so that's why
there's no borrowing employees between there. They're separate builders.
And so that's why we did kind of separate it as its own acoustic piano. I thought you were going to choose one of my favorite on this list, the Mason and Hamlin. So Mason and Hamlins are incredible instruments, handmade in Boston, right outside of Boston, in Massachusetts, and just incredible instruments. Very hard to get your hands on. You can find a couple used ones out there, but really you're going to pay top dollar for the used ones, and the new ones are very expensive. But
they always have a long line at the NAMM show to play the Mason and Hamlin because they have the carbon graphite action as well from a different company. Kawai manufactures their own, but Wesson, Nickel, and Gross makes the action that Mason and Hamlin puts in their pianos. And they also use carbon fiber shanks, which is a little different, and everyone swears by playing those things. The only downside from what I've heard of Mason and Hamlin's is you buy one today, a 7 foot, say, or a 6 or 7 foot, and in about 2.5 to maybe 3 years, if you're lucky, you'll get your piano.
Yeah, so a little bit harder to obtain. We of course put Schimmel on the list. Again, now they are owned by Pearl River, but they make an incredible instrument out of Germany, and just an amazing instrument. We're going to name a couple like really high-end instruments that you have to make this list, or else we'd be burned at the stake, I believe.
Bosendorfer is one of them, and remember too that they're owned by Yamaha. They used to be owned by Kimball, so on occasion we've talked a lot about Kimball pianos, but that information is about 20 years old.
Yeah.
On the Kimball pianos. And the other one I really, really like, and people always ask me, how come you don't ever talk about these pianos? And I tell them point blank, I've never played one and I want to, and that's a Fazioli.
Yeah, the Italian manufacturer Fazioli out of Italy. He's got a shop, I think, 30 miles north of Venice. Nice place to live, I guess.
The guy I know that plays one of those and has always played one since he first tried one was Herbie Hancock.
Okay.
And what I do know about Fazioli is I do think they have something in their acoustic pianos which I like, and it's a fourth pedal. And there's the damper, the sostenuto, and then a sustain pedal. But Fazioli has like a damper 2 type. And what it does is it raises the hammers closer to the strings, just like on an upright when you use the damper pedal. So you have the one that shifts the hammers over, and then you have one that'll bring them up. And I think that's a pretty neat,
it is.
It's something that I would like to try as a player, because I never have.
Yeah, I guess it helps you kind of have another tool for dynamic control.
Yeah, expression sort of thing.
Another American manufacturer here, I think there's only 3 left, American manufacturers, Charles Walter. So not one that you see very often.
Those are really high-priced pianos.
Yeah,
so they're very well made.
Yeah, they're very well made. Along next to Steinway and Mason and Hamlin, it's the only other American-made here, manufactured here in the U.S., completely made here, piano manufacturer. And so you see them every once in a while. We get used ones in every once in a while. They're really cool instruments, a very long key in the uprights. So really a cool instrument, definitely worth checking out if you ever see one, if you're ever in a store and they have them. It's a really cool story. And then, finishing out our list of acoustics real quick, Youngchang and Samick, the Korean manufacturers, really kind of...
Those are almost like, you see it at the college university level, sometimes you see just as much Youngchang and Samick presentation at some universities as you do the Yamaha Kawai.
And huge impact in the 80s, late 80s, 90s, and in the early 2000s, Youngchang and Samick. And it continues today, but they
changed the piano business.
They did. They for better or worse, offered an affordable instrument, and really a lot of other brands couldn't compete at that price point. And we have a whole bunch of them, and there's a lot of pianos that you will see with another name on them, but that it was manufactured by Youngchang, or another name and it was manufactured by Samick. And so a lot of stencil brands, and there's a whole book of American piano brands and European piano brands that all those names, or not all of them, but a good majority of the well-known ones can be seen on a Samick or a Youngchang.
Yeah. And during the 80s, what they did is they essentially got rid of the high-polished lacquer piano that Steinway and Baldwin used to sell in Mason and Hamlin, because high-polished lacquers didn't look good enough anymore. And so when people say, I want one of those shiny pianos, and so the shiny, whether it was shiny mahogany or polished white that was shiny, or shiny black or ebony, whatever, those pianos originally started showing up in the mid to late 80s, and they were about anywhere from a third to half the price of what a running same size piano would have been from Baldwin or Yamaha or any traditional manufacturer, because they were first being imported then, and it changed the piano market. It made everyone have to start cutting their prices and being more competitive to deal with these imported pianos that were really, they come in with international key length, where a lot of the American ones had the shorter keys. Yeah. And they were shiny and they looked better, and some of the American ones were made out of wood and they were kind of dull looking and looked like it'd been an old. It changed everything about the piano.
Yeah, and so now people, the first thing they think of when they think of a piano is a shiny black piano right there.
Absolutely true.
And so we will talk about Baldwin now, the end of our acoustic list. And I know, we left some brands off, but we did cover a good amount of acoustic brands. But Baldwin, great rich history, amazing instruments that you can find used. The new ones today are still a very quality instrument. In our opinion, it wouldn't be the same quality as what the traditional Baldwin was when they were manufactured here in the U.S. The brand name did sell to Gibson Guitars, Gibson does make them in China out of another facility, but the Baldwin name is very well trusted, and it's a really good brand, and one we wanted to include it here on the acoustic list. So in no particular order, again, we'll go through those again. So Pearl River, who makes the Essex, the Boston piano, which Steinway uses, but it's manufactured by Kawai. We talked about Schimmel, which is owned by Pearl River. We talked about Mason and Hamlin. We talked about Bosendorfer, Shigeru Kawai. We talked about Fazioli, Charles Walters, Samick, Youngchang, Baldwin. All those are in our acoustic category. And it seems like a long list, but there used to be thousands of manufacturers in the acoustic world. And these are really the ones that we would say, look at these. These are quality. These are safe. These are good on your investment, and really kind of a place to start looking for an acoustic instrument if you're looking for a new one or a used one. Again, Yamaha and Kawai are in a separate category where they kill it in the acoustic lines. They kill it in the digital lines. They kill it in everything that they make.
They're still inventing pianos, so they can kill it in. They're trying to make markets all the time.
So we focused a lot on acoustic, but don't forget about those two in the overall category, which brings us to digital really quick. There's only 3 manufacturers in this one. These companies do not make an acoustic instrument. They only make digitals. And again, Yamaha and Kawai are in this category, but we're not going to talk about them because we already did. But Roland is kind of, I would say, a tie for first, second, and third place in digital pianos is Yamaha, Kawai, Roland. And all 3 of them have great things they offer. We spend a lot of time on this channel reviewing these 3 brands because they really are, I would say, the best at what they do in the digital world. So Yamaha, Kawai, and then Roland is our first brand in the digital category. And they started making
pedals. Roland started off making pedals and stuff like that.
And then they did a lot of synthesizers, and we're learning how to manipulate sound. And you started seeing the beginning works of a piano, a digital piano early on. They did digital drums with the TR-808 and things like that. But just they made their way into the digital piano world and are like a pillar of digital music, and really have a cool story with the way that they model their digital pianos. Now they model the sound instead of sampling. So really a cool story. And then Casio came along from making novelty electronic products to being one of the top supplier of digital electronic instruments for the world. Yeah, you can get
they're very, very affordable.
Calculator watch, or you can get like a nice keyboard that plays.
Yeah, they started making all kind of things. I think now they kind of limit it to their music.
Yeah, and so in this category, I would say Casio shines in like the sub $1,000 price point. They do make some in-home digitals that you can't get your hands on that are decent, but there's a lot to look at that price range. And then finally, Korg. I think we got to mention Korg.
Korg was really big in the synthesizer business in the 70s and 80s, and then when things turned digital, they kind of dropped out for a while, and then they came back with this Triton, and they had all these other keyboards that just slayed the digital world, man. We were trying to sell these big, expensive Yamaha things, and everyone wanted this Korg deal because they came in at like $2,000 less and stuff like that. So they delivered a lot of product for a lot less money. And then since then, it's all kind of balanced out to where if you go out to buy a digital piano, a digital keyboard, you're going to have different price ranges. And say you pick a price range and you look at all the competitors' products, they're going to be real close at what they offer. There isn't anyone that's giving away the kitchen sink there without you charging for it.
Yeah.
I mean, the features that you want, the heavy weighted action, graded action, all those things, Korg's going to have them priced right where Roland has them priced, right where Yamaha has them priced.
Yeah.
They're going to be similar. So these are ideas were to give you the top name brands of just about anything piano, acoustic, or digital that you can encounter and expect to find when you walk into a store for new merchandise.
Yeah, and hopefully this will give you kind of a template of if you are looking at things online and looking to make a purchase. There's a lot of danger traps because there's all these new brands that pop up that we have this new digital piano that you should buy, and a lot of the times, hate to break it to you, it's not worth the price. Spend an extra $50 to $100, and you sometimes it's not like generic beans on a shelf, and you get like almost the exact same product for a couple, for half the price. I don't think there's a lot of brands that I would say yes, trust this, that aren't on this list. At least here where we're located in Texas, in America. I know there are some European brands that we did leave off of the Acoustic list. Estonia is one of them. Never played one, but I heard great things. But yeah, so this is our definitive list, and like I said, if you disagree, you're wrong. No.
Write a comment and tell us how wrong we are.
Yeah, let us know what we forgot, please. I'm sure we forgot a brand that people are. What about Kurzweil? What about Kurzweil?
I was going to mention Kurzweil, but I let it go.
We're going to let it go. And so thank you guys for watching. Again, this is Ted Barstool. I'm Patrick Marr with Alamo Music. You can find us at alamomusic.com. Please leave some comments so that we can all disagree.